Good morning, Greg. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, Bilal. How are you? I'm glad to be here.
Great, great. Thank you. Looking
Abs-
forward to the live Q&A with you as always.
Definitely. All right. Well, let me give you a little intro here to catch everyone up to speed. I'm here with Belal Hamideh, an attorney in Southern California who handles workers' compensation and employment disputes in matters such as wrongful termination. He's handled over 1,000 cases and has been very successful for his clients. He graduated from the Pepperdine School of Law, and with that law degree, he attended UCLA, where he studied economics and got his bachelor's. He's been practicing since 2013, and he's here today to answer your questions. With that out of the way, we might as well get right into it there, if you're up for it. All right, so the first question here, and it's frankly something I kind of wondered myself. Someone asked, how long do I have to make a case for a personal injury?
Okay, so you don't have an unlimited amount of time
Mm,
to go after a claim and to pursue your injuries. You can't be like, oh, that car accident I had 10 years ago, you know what? I think I should kind of pursue it now. So there is something called a statute of limitations,
mm,
which is a law that requires you to file your lawsuit within a certain amount of time after the injury occurs. And if you don't file it within that certain amount of time, then you lose your right to file that lawsuit.
oh, geez.
And these are strictly enforced.
Mm,
So, and there's a lot of variations to different statute of limitations depending on how you got injured. So, in general, in California, the statute of limitations is 2 years from the date of injury.
mm.
However, if it's a medical malpractice case, it's 1 year from the date of injury.
Whoa.
So they make it harder to go after doctors than they do to go after just a regular person.
Mm,
And then if you want to sue a governmental entity, they make it even harder than that. You have to file a claim within 6 months, a claim for damages against the government entity. So maybe you injured yourself on a sidewalk that was not maintained well by the city, that had a hazardous condition, and you want to save the city for failing to fix this hazard and making this a hazard to the public. Because of that, I got injured. I have to file a claim for damages against them within 6 months of my injury. And then usually the city will deny the claim. And from the date of denial of claim, you then have 6 months to file a lawsuit.
wow.
So those are the general state laws. The federal law is you have to make a claim if you're suing a federal entity. Maybe somebody from the United States government was driving a vehicle and rear-ended you or ran a light or something like that. Then state law wouldn't apply. It would be federal law. And for those, you have to file a claim, a Form 95 claim for damages against the federal government within 2 years of your date of injury. So the
Jeez.
best thing to do, because you don't, a lot of times you don't know, is somebody responsible in this crash that's a governmental entity? Maybe somebody rear-ended me, but maybe the traffic light was faulty that led to the person. Maybe we both had a green. Maybe the government has some negligence here, and you don't want to miss any defendants when you're filing for a claim, because if you don't file timely against them, then you lose your right to recover. So I think when you get into an accident, it's good to research or ask an attorney, what is my statute of limitations? How long do I have to file a claim for injury?
Yeah, I mean, wow, that's great. Thank you for telling us that. That's really going to help people. I mean, I had known there was a statute of limitations. I didn't realize just how short and limited it was. Yeah, people definitely want to get help there sooner versus later. Okay, so the next question I think kind of follows that pretty naturally, which is what happens after my personal injury case is filed in court?
Okay, so the first thing when you get injured, you try to resolve your claim with an insurance adjuster without the need of having to file a lawsuit. If you
Mm,
can't settle the case, then you end up in court with a lawsuit against the person who negligently injured you.
mm,
Um, so what happens is you file the case and then you engage in what's called discovery. So discovery is when both sides, the plaintiff, the one who's suing, and the defendant, the one who's being sued, exchange information regarding the incident, regarding the injuries, regarding medical records. That's written discovery where each side sends questions to the other. Then
mm.
there's oral discovery, which is when they'll do depositions. And then usually after the discovery is completed and each side has all the information regarding the crash or the personal injury, then you can set up a mediation with a neutral mediator within a couple months after discovery is completed to try to get the case resolved with the help of a mediator. And then if that doesn't work out, you prepare for trial and a jury or a judge will determine how much your case is worth.
Mm. I see. So yeah, so once the case is filed in court, then there's still a lot of steps to go. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I guess the next question kind of happens, uh, asks something that would take place before that. So how do I choose a personal injury lawyer?
Right. So the thing with a lot of personal injury attorneys is that, and some complaints that I've heard is that they treat people like they're just a number, like a case
Mm,
file. You
hmm.
know, the most important thing in choosing a lawyer is making sure that the attorney is going to care for your needs, give you the attention and answer all of your questions, give you peace of mind, not to add more stress to the stress you already have from being injured. You know, oh, my lawyer doesn't pick up my calls. So the best way to see what lawyers actually care for their clients and the care for the client also leads to better results for the client.
Mm,
The more attention
right.
you put to a client, the more you understand their case, the more you understand how they've been injured and affected by this crash. If you don't call them or talk to them, you don't know what they've been through. You don't know what events
Mm,
they've missed out on. You don't know the effect on their social life that this injury has had. So looking maybe online to see reviews of attorneys to see which ones actually care for the client and then in return get good results for the client. So that's
mm.
what I would recommend in looking for a personal injury attorney.
No, that's great. I was just struck by as I was hearing you say that. I was thinking it's so that's so true. Whereas, like for me, a layperson that doesn't have the experience or doesn't know that, I know many of us have the idea that the best attorney is the one that doesn't do what you said. Whereas, just to think like, they're out there trying the case for us. But what you said makes so much more sense. The idea that it's the person who is caring about you, that is checking in, that does take that personal aspect and responsibility, that connection. That I'm very glad you said that. Yeah, and I think speaking of care, the next question here is who pays my bills after a car accident?
All right, so after you get injured by somebody, if you can prove that that person was negligent, meaning that they did something unreasonable, they weren't paying attention, as a result of their negligence, you were injured. You know, they ran a light, they didn't maintain a safe distance between themselves and yourself, they rear ended you. Um, there are certain damages that you are entitled
Mm,
to recover in the form of money from the other person or the other person's insurance company, most commonly.
mm,
One of the damages you're able to recover are your medical expense. So, any medical bills that you get from the crash, whether it be an ambulance taking you to the hospital, the fire department showing up on the scene to assist, the hospital, the physicians in the hospital, the anesthesiologist for surgery, um, all of those things, you put them together and you submit it to the insurance company and they will pay you what they think is reasonable amount for those medical bills.
Oh, jeez.
So if you can have $20,000 in medical bills and they may only consider $5,000. If that's the case, you're going to have to file a lawsuit, you know, tell them, well, stop playing games. Let's get this in litigation in front of a jury and I'll get my medical expense. It's more likely that your medical expense will be paid with an attorney because there's more of a threat of the lawsuit if they are playing games. So in essence, the medical bills are paid by the negligent person who injured you, and more commonly, their insurance company who is contractually obligated to pay for whatever they are responsible to you for.
No, that's wow, thank you. That shows just how high the stakes on this are. I mean, that that you could be on the hook for any of that medical stuff. That's why it's so important to reach out to someone like you. I knew it was going to be tough when you brought out the air quotes. That was a sign that this was going to be that definitely get someone's help. Well, the fifth question we have today is how do I get paid for lost time from work after an accident?
Okay, so when you say after an accident, I'll assume any type of accident. So let's start first with personal injury. So if you have been injured, say in a car crash, and you're unable to work, you have to document how many hours that you haven't worked, how much money you make per hour, and then tally that for a total lost wages or a total loss of earnings. So when you submit a settlement demand to an insurance company, it's going to be under what's called a special or calculable damage. Calculable damage are damages that you can actually add up and calculate. Those include medical bills. This bill is $2,500. This bill is $1,200. You can add them up. Loss of earnings. I missed from January 1st to February 13th. This is what I make a day. You can add it up. So you submit it to the insurance company if it's a car accident, and then they pay you the loss of earnings as part of your settlement. It could be many months after your accident occurs. They're not paying you as your claim is going on. It's part of your settlement at the end. However, if it's a work accident and you file a workers' compensation case, once the doctor says that you're unable to work, once you start missing time from work, actually once 3 days have passed where you are unable to work, you are now entitled to temporary disability payments, 2/3 of your average weekly wage. And those payments are made to you in workers' comp while your case is going on. You don't need to wait until the end. Sometimes you do in workers' comp if the insurance company is denying your claim. If they are denying it because they are saying that you never got injured at work, these injuries are pre-existing, they are unrelated to that fall that you had. So in workers' comp, you get paid faster, but you get paid less. That is 2/3 of your average weekly earnings. In personal injury, when you're recovering lost wages, they are actually supposed to pay you your gross lost earnings before tax.
Oh, wow.
So, in an instance, you might get even more for lost wages than you would have actually been earning because your taxes are taken out, but you get paid later at the time of settlement. So that's the essence of the lost wages question in regards to accidents, which what encompasses an accident, it's either really personal injury or workers' compensation.
Wow. Yeah, no, that was great information. I learned a lot throughout all of that. Well, thank you for sharing that. That's all the questions we had sent into us today. Was there anything that you wanted to add on top of all this, Belal?
As always, I wanted to thank anybody who has joined us. We are trying to give back to the community to give free legal, responses to questions. Even though this doesn't create an attorney-client relationship, it's just for informational purposes. But we do upload these videos all on YouTube after, and you can subscribe there to get notifications of new videos. We do our best to make these videos every 2 weeks. And these questions are questions that are most frequently asked to myself or my staff that I feel that it would be helpful for people to get the answers. You can also leave your questions on my personal or business Facebook page, Belal Hamideh Law Facebook page. Either in a comment, you can just write your question, and then we'll tally up all the questions and then make sure to get that answered for you on the next live session, which would be 2 Saturdays from now. So I want to wish everyone a safe and happy weekend, a fun Super Bowl weekend.
There you go.
Who are you going for, Chiefs or Bucks?
I mean, I personally hope the Chiefs pull it out. I think the last I saw the line was 4. I would take the Chiefs to cover late. That's where I am on it. What about you?
Okay, I like to see Brady get 7. Well, we'll see if he can do it.
Okay, there you go.
People have been doubting him for many years, even up until now.
Certainly,
up until they've proved them wrong.
This is all true.
It's kind of like, he is the Goliath in terms of NFL history.
Certainly,
but the David in this matchup. So
yeah, that's not a bad way of putting it. That's better than a lot of the analysis I've seen over the last couple of weeks, frankly.
So I represent the little guy. We're
Certainly.
going up against the big guy. So you know that in this matchup, I'm going to be rooting for David.
Okay. That's a good rule of thumb in most things. I think that's a good idea. All right. Well, that I don't think we're going to top that. I'm always glad to be here, and thank you so much to everyone who watches, and always thank you to Belal for sharing this with us. This is really, really helpful.